Roll for Crit here, and today we are taking a close examination in our review of Seven Wonders, classic drafting game from Repos production under Asmodee, designed by Antoine Boza. It's laid out in front of us. As I said, it's drafting, it's cards, it takes place amongst these ancient civilizations.
Yes, the Seven Wonders, which is an old title used to describe some of the most amazing achievements humanity has been able to do. You will be taking control of one of them, and you'll be drafting cards each round to strengthen your position and prove you are the best wonder.
Yeah, so if you don't know about the card drafting mechanic, which you probably do, but real quick, you got a hand of cards, everybody chooses the one that they like, and then you put it down and pass your hand to the next player. And then you flip your card, everybody at the same time, and in this game, whatever it is going to do whatever it was. So for instance, it could be resources generated. So you can see if you have a resource, you tuck it here underneath your resource generation, and each turn you get one of that type of resource or more, depending on what you have lined up.
If certain cards may require you to have resources to build.
That's right.
You would need a wood, currently it's not there.
In fact, this one costs a gold, which is another resource that you have that's generated from, could be from various ways you could get gold.
In addition, there are these blue cards, which just give points. Green cards, which are the science cards, which sort of give a large amount of points depending on what you're able to collect at the end of the game. There are these gold cards, which sort of allow you to manipulate the market and get you some better stuff. These gray ones, which are special resources, which we'll get back to. And then there's war.
Yeah, the red war cards, because at the end of each round, once everyone's exhausted their hands, you have a battle with your neighbors.
That's right. So you actually it actually matters where you sit. So in this situation, imagine if there's a fourth player there. I would actually be fighting Rhodes, and you, Giza, but I would not be interacting with Babylon over there.
Right, and this game does go for up to 7 players, if I'm not mistaken. So
yes.
When you are in a game like that with drafting, that can happen depending on who you're next to. Things could be different.
And depending on what round it is, you'll get either 1, 3, or 5 victory points for winning each battle, and a negative victory point for losing one.
Yeah, whoever has the most of these symbols in play is going to win those military victories, which can be pretty important if depending on how you play. Also, your neighbors matter because you can potentially buy to use some of their resources if you don't have them available yourself.
That's right. For example, right now, this person would need silk to build that apothecary, but wouldn't have it, but could pay someone next to him to do so.
There are some cards that, it's not just resources. They will give you special abilities like that.
Right, like the one I have in front of me actually makes it cheaper to buy resources from the person to my right, you.
Yeah, and some of these cards build off of each other, so in the future there might be like a second level of something,
right.
And you don't have to pay as much for it.
You can tell because it has a little written here, and I'll tell you what it can build into. There are 3 rounds, and the cards get stronger, if you haven't guessed, as you get into the later rounds. With actually the last round, we don't have any out right now, but there are guilds, which pretty much are these big end game points for if you have a lot of the green cards or a lot of red cards.
Of course, we have neglected to mention the wonders from the title of the game. Once you've drawn your card, maybe there's a card in your hand that you don't really care for or that you don't want someone else to get. You could use it, instead of playing it face up, put it face down and use it as a wonder under your board, and everyone has a unique set of these.
Yes, you are building your wonder. They usually are 3 slots, and each time you have to build the first ones to get to the top. And they give a reward for building it, such as that gives 3 victory points when built. Some of them, though, for example, Giza actually has 4 levels.
Right, so that's pretty cool. That can be exciting. It's just going to be a whole bunch of victory points.
Oh, and the other interesting thing is each board is double-sided and is different on each side. I believe yours is actually 3 levels on the other side, for example. And you actually choose in the beginning. They may give you these nice cards of A and B, so you can divvy them out, flip them around to randomly decide what wonder you are.
So there's a lot of different choices and strategies that you could potentially follow down. We talked about like military, for instance. You might go all into that on your game and just be killing people left and right, or you might just kind of take a back seat to that and try to find other avenues to get ahead.
Right, if you can go all science, maybe go blue cards, or try to really get control of the marketplace. What's interesting is whatever you do, because this is a drafting game, you really have to look at what your neighbors are doing too. So for example, if Jonathan was really going all in on military. For example, I have a lot of these. Maybe it's not worth for me to build any military because I know no matter what, I'm going to lose to you.
Yeah, and if I see that you're racking up some of these science cards, those give you points based on the multipliers of how many you have. I might be like, I never want to let him get any more of those because that could really give him an edge in points.
Right, so it has a lot of fun interactions with strategies you may have to shift. The fact that it's sitting next to the people may give you resources of who you can pay, as well as maybe hurt you, depending on who you're next to. Can really add some fun dynamics of how you actually interact with everyone at the table.
Yeah, this is a great one that we often break out when we have larger groups because unlike a lot of party games that are for larger groups, it's not oversimplified, it's not goofy. It is like a fairly in-depth, hard, I'd say like medium level game.
Right, and that's the beauty of drafting. Drafting works well actually with more people. Usually when a game maybe might fit 6 or 7, that isn't a party game, but it's like, really, it's 4. And this isn't that game.
What's even greater about it, because it's a drafting game, everyone's turn is simultaneous. So there's little to no downtime unless you just pick your card. You're waiting for everyone else to pick their card, but it goes very quickly, even with those larger player counts.
Yeah, I will say a lot of the pros and honestly most of the cons I will have for this game really come from the fact what you'll see for any kind of draft, regardless of whether it's 7 Wonders or a trading card game.
I mean, that is the thing with this game is it is drafting the game. Like a lot of games have drafting as a mechanic. It's drafting.
The core. It's the core principle,
which is interesting.
And we're talking about the base here. We should mention this is
of course
the Kinderspiel from 2011. It's had a lot of expansions, including a spin-off like for a duel if you only want to play with 2 people.
Yes, which is widely acclaimed. Just talking about strictly this base game today, because why not? It's fun. But yeah, I love that aspect of it. That it's easy to play, to teach to people. It doesn't take a long time. Everyone's engaged constantly.
Yeah, this is actually my copy of the game. This is one of our first ones. We should also mention. Way back when.
Probably a lot of people's first ones.
Right. And another friend of mine had this game, but I decided I wanted to have my own copy because I thought it was such a great game to have around, especially when I was over that nice usual 4-number player count.
Yeah, when you have a large group, but again, you don't want to split up, and you don't want to just play Resistance for the 800th time, or whatever other Cards Against Humanity or whatever. This has some meat on the bone, and again, with those expansions also add a bunch to it, which are really nice. It's just a solid title. I think it has its reputation for a good reason. For 7 Wonders, here are our crits and misses. For crits, this is a game that plays well with large numbers without sacrificing any of the depth of the gameplay. There are lots of different strategy choices that you can make with the different cards, the double-sided boards. Every time you play, you can kind of choose sort of a different engine to build if you want to. The seating arrangement is important, which can, again, create some interesting wrinkles in your play. Every time you sit down, it might be a different experience depending on who you're next to.
Yeah, I really enjoy games because it's not really seen that often where sitting matters. And I don't mean that just because drafting what cards I pass to you or not, but just the fact that you're building a lot of military, I don't like that. Meanwhile, the person the pacifist is across from you, you're like, why am I not sitting next to you? For misses, if someone is not very skilled at drafting, and have to sit next to 2 people who maybe go to Magic drafts every weekend, they can really punish that player.
Yeah, it can be kind of a bummer. Or if you're next to people sometimes who aren't as good players, then you can't bounce off of them as well and use their resources like you could if you're next to someone who is skilled. So both sides of the coin could be a little dangerous.
When you are sitting at a table fitting 7 people, you maybe have a little trouble keeping track of what the players across from you are doing because you'll be paying so much attention to what your left and right are.
Yeah, which sometimes is fine. You want to pay attention to your neighbors, but sometimes when the game ends and, wait, Chuck down there won? I didn't even know what he was doing.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10 is because no one realized he was drafting all the science cards.
Right.
So this has been our review of 7 Wonders. Honestly, a great game to have if you enjoy strategy, because this will be the game you take out when you have too many people at the table.
Yeah, if you like drafting card games, if you're early on in your collection or not, I feel like this is a good staple to have on your shelf next to those games like Ticket to Ride. I think this is one that people of any experience level can get into and have fun with.
And because it has plenty of expansions, it can add more complexity to it already than what the base adds, and some other really cool wonders, including a joke one, I believe, is just for Repo's games.
Oh, yeah, pretty exciting. Yeah, there's definitely some promos out there you can hunt down. 7 wonders. I wonder what the 8th one will be. Leave a comment and let us know what you think. Thanks for watching. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this has been a Roll for Crit review. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your comments below.
Oh, yeah.